I want to go with saltwater
I
crocodiles.
knew it. I
Yeah,
figured you're gonna go that the Steve Irwin route.
they've been around for millions and millions of years. They've been around since the time of dinosaurs. One of the like ultimate apex predators.
Welcome in and welcome back to the Chasing Wild podcast, your home for all the best content on conservation, wildlife, and adventure. We are back after a pretty long hiatus. We haven't recorded in a while. Your host here, Jake Johnson, my co-host, Dean Dudzik. Dean, how we doing today?
I'm doing good. Like you said, we haven't recorded for close to a year now, so a
Yeah.
lot has changed since then. Quick update on myself. I hopped to a different zoo, different job. I don't have any big travel updates that have happened over the past year, but I do have some really exciting ones um, coming soon in the
On the
future.
horizon.
And yep, they're coming on the horizon, so I can preview those later. There'll be a good time and place for that. So, yeah, I've been good recently. Nothing crazy. And again, I have some exciting stuff to share for the future. So, what about you,
Cool.
Jake? What's been going on with you lately?
Yeah, I've got two really cool trips coming up towards the end of the year, August and September. We'll talk about that later, which I'm
Yeah.
really excited for, though. I'm getting an opportunity to also co-lead one of my first trips, so not just going as
Yep.
a tourist or one of those people. I'm going to be helping lead the trip with my buddy Justin Grubb, who is part of Running Wild Media. So I'm excited about that. But yeah, I mean, the reason we haven't recorded in a while is because I moved houses. So we basically were fixing up our last house, getting ready to sell. And then we bought a house that wasn't quite move-in ready. So we were fixing it up for the past, I don't know, 7 months. And we're finally in. I'm in the new studio. I have an office at this new house, which is great. Still got a lot of the artwork and stuff to put in. But we're here. We made it. Daughter's almost 2. Let's see, did we go anywhere? We went to Disney, which was a ton of fun. I'm
Yeah,
a
same.
big Disney fan. Yeah, you went to Disney as well. Cool.
Yeah.
It was Addie's first time, so we had a great time there, but haven't done
Nice.
anything super adventurous in a while, and I'm pumped to get back into it. So
Yep.
speaking
Yes, sir.
of adventure, the title of the episode and the main topic of today is going to be going over our adventure profiles. So I think this is something that is going to be a little fun exercise. I've been doing it with, my wife, with people at work, friends and stuff like that. Basically just getting a glimpse of who you are in the outdoor world, right? Like what kind of animals you like, what kind of places you like to see, things of that nature. So I think that'll be a fun thing that we can run through, and also that people can participate on in their own time. We hopefully make this like a PDF that people can fill out and kind of have your own adventure
Mhm.
profile. But that is the big chunk of what we're going to do. But we're going to be trying some new things on this episode, doing some segments, kind of jumping into a couple different topics that relate to the main topic of the adventure profile. But to start, we wanted to go over some nature news. So I actually read recently I think it was on BBC's website, that there's a new risotope project, which is a South African university Witwatersrand, sorry if I'm not pronouncing that correctly, collaborated with nuclear energy officials and conservationists to inject radioactive isotopes into rhino horns, which I think anyone who reads that is going to be like, interesting. So basically what they're doing there is they're just trying to get these rhino horns, if the rhino is unfortunately poached, killed, for their horn. They're trying to make sure that those horns do not get to the black market. So putting radioactivity in it basically just means that it's very easily detectable at borders, whether you're on an airplane or you're on a boat. The big thing is with the radioactivity is that it's so detectable that even in a giant 40-foot long shipping crate, even if it's buried at the bottom, they'll be able to detect that and it will not get through. So I thought that was super interesting, and which is obviously a huge effort for conservationists, because there is a lot of illegal trafficking for rhino horns and for elephant tusks. Dean, you want to jump in, talk a little bit about maybe the rhino horn and how it's different from the elephant tusks and all that?
Yeah, so amongst poachers and some cultures, it's a misconception that rhino horns are actually ivory. So, as you know, elephant tusks are made out of ivory, which again is sort of collected by poachers and sold on black markets or whatnot to certain cultures. And both rhino horns and elephant tusks alike often are symbolic of like wealth, luck. They're believed to have some medicinal value, which, for those that don't know, rhino horns are made out of keratin. So it's the same material that our hair, our fingernails, our toenails are made out of, which doesn't offer any significant medicinal value whatsoever. But unfortunately, that's a misconception in some cultures. And again, the rhino horn is often believed to be ivory, like the elephant tusk, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not. Again, it's keratin, and it has really, really huge implications on the status of those species in the wild. So we have a little stat here. You know, beginning in the 20th century, there were 500,000 rhinos in the world, and we're now down to less than 27,000. So you can picture just the sheer mass of those numbers dropping just in a century, and it's really astonishing and sad at the same time. So yeah, there's some
Yeah,
really
and
big misconceptions that um unfortunately have continued to exist in some places of the world, and it's really important that, you know, whether it's common knowledge for us or not, that we get the message out there and people all around the world continue to get this message. And this Risotope project is one way to combat this issue, because sometimes conservation, there's not just one solution to a problem. Education oftentimes isn't enough. So this Risotope project is really interesting. And Jake, you want to talk more about it?
yeah, I just think it's a cool endeavor, and a lot of people are going to ask, does the radioactivity harm the rhino? No, they did do tests to make sure
Mm-hmm.
that it was completely harmless to those rhinos, and it is. But
Yep.
yeah, it just kind of goes to show the lengths that conservationists have to go to protect these animals. There's a lot of different initiatives out there, a lot of different people across the world working to protect, elephants, rhinos, a lot of different animals, and you got to get creative. You got to get creative to try to beat the poachers at their game, try to get ahead of things. But yeah, I
Yep.
thought that was a super interesting topic. I heard that, and hopefully we're going to be bringing some positive news to this podcast. It is unfortunate what's going on to rhinos, but it's also a testament to people, to the creativity that we're able to do to hopefully save these species. So uh,
Definitely.
let's jump in. So before we get into the adventure profiles, I wanted to do a little bit of a taxonomic breakdown, because that's going to help us know a little bit about the different classes of vertebrates. So just briefly, we're not in school, so we'll do it quick, but domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. So it's a hierarchical system of naming and classifying organisms based on shared characteristics. A lot of people probably remember the "Did King Philip come over for good soup or good spaghetti" or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That whole thing. But essentially, what we're going to be focused on today is within the classes. So domain divides life into bacteria, eukarya, archaea. We're going to focus on eukarya. Kingdom, the broadest group: animals, plants, fungi. Phylum is just basically, that's where we're going to get into our vertebrates. So animals with a backbone.
Yep.
And then after that, we get into class. So basically, there are 5 different major classes of vertebrates: mammals, fish, reptiles, amphibians, and birds. So that's all we need to know today. If you wanted to go farther, the order of, let's say, a human would be primates. So that's another example would be like rodents, rodentia. Family, great apes of primates. They're all closely related.
Yep.
The genus would be gorillas. There's different types of gorillas, but that's a genus.
Yep.
And then a species would be like a western lowland gorilla, right? So
Yep.
that's the whole taxonomic breakdown. But why that's important is because this fun little exercise. So Dean, I'm gonna, we talked a little bit about this, but you're gonna get a team of 6 animals. You're gonna get 1 mammal, fish, reptile, amphibian, bird. So that's 5. And then you're also
Mm-hmm.
going to get a spirit animal. So this, and again, for people listening to the show, I found a lot of people like doing this too. All of my coworkers who are zookeepers have loved it. So, but basically, let's start by going through that, seeing what animals you pick. And this is just the team that would kind of represent you. Like, who would you choose? It doesn't, not like on strength or anything like that. It's just kind of,
Yeah.
your flavor. So why don't you start with mammal?
Okay. For my favorite mammal, I don't have a specific species. I guess I could, but my favorite mammal are gibbons, or is
Mm.
gibbons. So, for example, just quickly, this will be the only like boring taxonomic stuff I'll provide. But like gibbons, for example, there's 4 genera of gibbons. So like for example, my favorite species of gibbon is northern white-cheeked gibbon. So their genus is Nomascus and their species is Lucigenus. So that's just sort of connecting the taxonomic stuff Jake went over with
Mm-hmm.
one of my favorite animals. So my favorite mammal is the gibbons. Jake, I want to
And that is an
hop.
animal that we have both
Yeah,
worked with. I still work with. I was working with today, and that was a callback to an episode where you said that was your favorite animal, right?
yeah, it's definitely up there. And for my favorite mammal, I had to go with gibbons. They're so cool. They're kind of like the Spider-Man of
Mm-hmm.
like real life. They're just super fast, breaking through the trees. They're really cool animals. So Jake, I
They
want to
have a
pop it over.
crazy strong upper body. Like if you see their
Yeah,
shoulders and their
yeah,
biceps, it's insane. And they have really cool calls. They're
yeah.
definitely a fun species. A lesser ape, not a great ape, but lesser ape, but not a
That's
monkey.
good too.
So let's go
That's
next to
good.
bird. What's your bird?
My favorite bird is the harpy eagle.
Yeah,
So,
that's a cool one.
um,
Amazon.
that's yep. So that's a tropical bird of prey that's found in the rainforest in Central and South America. Um, I'll pop back to gibbons real quick because I wanted to
Yep.
like give a little bit of background on each animal. So
Yeah, go
you
for it.
might, for those listening, you might be able to take something away from it. So like gibbons, like Jake said, they're lesser or smaller apes, and they'll be found in Southeast Asia. So you can find them in the mainland in Southeast Asia in countries like Vietnam and Laos, China. And then you can also find them on islands like in Indonesia, for example, Borneo, Sumatra. Those have gibbons as well. So they're found in Southeast Asia. And I believe last time I checked, there are 20 species of gibbons, and only one of those 20 species is not endangered today. So they're a group that's under a lot of threat. We could go into palm oil and deforestation and all
Yeah,
that.
habitat loss is
Um,
huge for them. That's a
Habitat
big
loss
one.
is really big, like a lot of tropical species. So that's just some background on gibbons.
Yeah.
And then the harpy eagle, that's my favorite bird. They're really cool. I'd encourage anybody to look up a picture of a harpy eagle. I always describe them as like the bird version of the Grim Reaper. That's what they
I'll
look
throw in a
like.
picture. I'll throw in a picture so
Yeah,
people will be
yeah,
looking at
that'd
it
be
right
great.
now. It's like a
They're
legendary
gray
Pokemon. Like it's crazy huge.
for sure. They're like, this nice gray, and they've got these just piercing black eyes. And like I said, they're a tropical bird of prey from Central and South America in the rainforest. When I went down to Peru in the Amazon, I was really, really hoping to see one.
Yeah, they're hard to
Unfortunately,
find though.
they're hard to find because
Hmm.
it helps if you're like in the canopy, and they're actually canopy towers that are scattered throughout the forest that you have a better chance of seeing one. That day that I was supposed to get in a tower, it was raining really bad, so we didn't get up there. Anyway, rainforest, Central and South America, their status is kind of fluctuated, but IUCN listed them as vulnerable. But their population is decreasing for similar reasons like deforestation. They are hunted, I believe, in some areas too. So, of course, that's not going to help their population.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just a little bit about the harpy eagle. That's definitely my favorite bird.
Yeah. Harpy eagles are sweet. I mean, I almost put that down just because they're such a magnificent animal. I went a different direction, but that's cool. All right, let's go to fish. What is your fish?
My
And
favorite
reminder for
fish.
everyone out there, sharks
Uh-huh.
are fish. Sharks are fish.
Yeah, well, it's
So
funny you
that's what they
mentioned
would.
that because my
Oh, there you
favorite
go.
fish is a tiger shark.
Nice.
Um,
Okay, I didn't know that, so that's cool.
yeah, I don't have a particular reason. I just always found them fascinating, and it kind of blends. Like tigers are another one of my favorite animals, and it kind
Hmm.
of blends a tiger and a shark together, which as a kid I always thought was super cool. They have a bit of pattern on their side that is reminiscent of like tiger stripes, um, and they can be found in like tropical waters, especially like in the Bahamas and the Caribbean. Um, and they're
Would you go snorkeling in waters that like there were predator sharks around, like a tiger or bull or great white shark? Because I wouldn't.
probably not,
That's not for me.
especially bulls and great whites. I know bulls in particular can be pretty aggressive
Aggressive. Yeah.
around people as far as sharks go. And then great white for kind of obvious reasons. Tiger sharks, I think, are a little bit different, but I know there have been some incidences with people.
Hmm.
They are a pretty large shark. Um, Something interesting about them is that they're kind of garbage disposals in some areas. So we've actually found a lot of weird things inside of tiger sharks. They'll eat a lot of trash and stuff that they find in the ocean, which is really weird. You don't think of a shark doing that, but they're just kind of generalist predators, and sometimes they actually will consume trash along the way. So we could connect that to making sure we're being really conscious about our litter and our waste disposal, trying not to let that stuff get into our oceans, obviously.
I think I remember watching a documentary once where they pulled a license plate out of a tiger shark, which I was just like,
Yeah,
what?
dude,
It's
just
crazy.
weird stuff. Really,
Yeah,
really
anything they
weird
can
stuff.
find.
Yeah, but I would
Um,
go with tiger shark, and they're not threatened. They're a pretty prevalent species, so not threatened. But tiger shark is my fish.
okay, so we got gibbon, harpy eagle, tiger shark. Let's go to amphibian.
My favorite amphibian is the Vietnamese mossy frog. So
I would have to look this up. I'll throw a picture in there. I'll try to throw a picture of all of these
yeah,
into
that'd
the
be great.
podcast so people can see.
I've seen them at zoos before. That's really how I'm aware of them, and they're just yeah. If you have
I'm
a
gonna look it up right
screen,
now while we're talking.
if you're watching the video or whatever, um, Jake will hopefully be able to get a picture up. They're really cool. They just have amazing
Mm,
camouflage. They look like a chunk of moss. Jake, you're looking at a picture right now, but
yeah, that's incredible.
um, their camouflage is just really really cool. As their name suggests, Vietnamese mossy frog. So they're found in northern Vietnam. Found around like limestone caves and stuff like that, where it's a really wet environment that moss might be growing on walls and such. So it provides excellent camouflage. And yeah, I don't really have any special reason besides they just look really cool and they have amazing camouflage.
Sometimes it's all you need, right? I mean, we're drawn
Yeah,
to the things that we're drawn to.
and I checked, and it looks like they're least concerned. So
That's good. That's good.
that's good. But yeah, I'll go with Vietnamese mossy frog for my favorite amphibian.
All right, sweet. This one's a big one for you because you're a herp guy.
Yeah.
So let's get in. Let's get into the reptile. What do we got here?
My favorite reptile is really hard, like you said, because I'm a big herp reptile guy. But I want to go with saltwater crocodiles.
I knew it. I
Yeah.
figured you're gonna go that the Steve Irwin route.
Yeah, yeah. Steve is probably the reason I say that, because growing up, I just have all these DVDs of him encountering saltwater crocodiles. Crocodilians are so cool in general. Like I could nerd out about them all day, but as you may know, like they've been around for millions and millions of years. They've been around since the time of dinosaurs. One of the like ultimate apex predators. You have to be pretty good to survive that long. They're
Yeah,
just so cool. Salties are the biggest species of crocodilian, so they can get massive, upwards of 20 plus feet, just
which
giant
is just
apex
crazy.
predators.
Could you
Yeah,
imagine being like in the water and seeing a 20 plus foot saltwater
yeah,
crocodile? Like that's wild.
yeah, and they're no joke. Like here in the States, I'm sure a lot of people out there listening have like encountered American alligators. Those guys are
Hmm.
like puppy dogs compared to saltwater crocodiles. If you encounter a saltwater crocodile in the wild, you're on the menu. Like saltwater crocodiles, nothing to mess around with.
It's
Yeah,
like a
they're
black
just
bear to a polar bear. Like a black bear,
that's
you have a chance. A
that's a
polar
good
bear, you have
analogy.
no chance.
That's a really good analogy. Don't go around messing with
Mm-mm.
alligators by any means. Don't do that either. But Yeah, saltwater crocodile. It's just an iconic reptile, and it's kind of hard to beat. So that's mine.
All right. So if you, I thought you would do saltwater croc or some type of snake. So if you had to go
Yeah,
snake, what
for
would you
sure.
go?
That
I'm
changes
putting you on the spot.
literally all the time. But right now, I have like a big fascination with scrub pythons. It's kind of
Hmm.
like it's kind of an out there group that I'm sure you're not that familiar with either. But
I
it's
am
just
not.
like
No.
it's a group of pythons from again Southeast Asia, like Indonesia, New Guinea. They're just really cool. They're arboreal, big pythons. They've got like these huge heat pits, and they're again pretty apex predators where they come from. So there's kind of a theme. I'm kind of attracted to a lot of the apex predators. Harpy eagles, another apex
Yep.
predator. So
Gibbons are not
yeah,
though. Gibbons are not. I don't
that's
think your
true.
little tree frog or your little mossy frog is either.
No.
So, all right. Now for the deeper one, spirit animal, which a lot of people take it a lot of different ways, to each their own. But the animal that you kind of think that you connect with the most.
This is gonna be boring because I was just talking about them, but it's gonna be a snake. That's my spirit
Okay,
animal.
that's okay.
Um, I think the main reason would be it's just the type of animal that I've been obsessed with since I can remember. Since I was a little kid, I've always been obsessed with snakes, and I think they represent me in some respect as well. Like I'm a pretty reserved, quiet guy, and
Mm-hmm.
snakes kind of like slithering around,
Mm-hmm.
camouflaged in
They're
ambush. I
not
think
very
that
loud. Yeah.
yeah, they're pretty quiet, and I think that represents me to an extent as well. So I would go with snake.
Would it be
I
the
feel like
scrub python or would it be a different species?
um
Are you going like anaconda?
if
Are you
I
going?
wanted to go like really cool, I'd go with something like a mamba. They're really
Mm.
fast, really deadly, really athletic. So if I had to choose,
Oh,
maybe something
we
like a
saying
mamba.
things there.
Yeah,
What did you played? What, soccer growing up? Soccer and hockey?
soccer a little bit and mainly hockey. Yeah,
Mainly. Okay. Yep. I remember.
yeah.
Cool.
So
All right.
I
So
would go with
to
that.
recap, you've got a white or a gibbon,
Yep,
specifically white cheek,
yep.
harpy eagle. Your fish was a tiger
Tiger
shark.
shark. Yep.
The mossy frog.
Vietnamese
What was it?
mossy frog.
Vietnamese mossy frog. Scrub python, or sorry, saltwater croc,
Saltwater. Yep.
and then a snake, a mamba. All right,
Yep.
cool. I'm gonna dive through mine. So I am more mammal centric. This was hard for me because it was hard to kind of place all of them, but I did end up going African lion. So I think back in the day,
Mhm.
I would have said the melanistic leopard. Even I think last year when we went over our
Yeah.
favorite animals, I went over
Yeah.
like Bagheera from Jungle Book.
You did say
But
that.
I have been reminiscing a lot of my trip to Tanzania lately, and I just thought the lions were magnificent, so cool. King of the jungle. Obviously, they don't typically live in the jungle, more savanna, but
Yep.
um, they're just such a unique species. So they are vulnerable, not endangered, found across a lot of different countries in Africa. But everyone knows the African lion. Just I still go over to where our lions are at the zoo. We have two males, they're brothers, and just hearing them roar is awesome. I'll never forget that
Yeah.
experience being in the Serengeti and just hearing them walk through our camp and just roar right outside of our camp. I was like, whoa, this is the craziest thing ever.
Yeah.
Which is a shout out back to our first episode. But African lion, my bird, I'm going snowy owl. So going
Mm.
Hedwig from Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Um, I was thinking back why, and I actually found, I have it over there hanging in my office, but I found a little snowy owl fake stuffing of snowy owl that I think my grandpa gave to me like a long time ago, and I just thought it was the coolest thing. I've had it, in all of my rooms growing up, but I think they're a really unique species as well. You can find them in the U.S. sometimes, but a lot of times more in like Canada, Greenland, Russia, Scandinavia, so colder climates. A lot of people think most owls are nocturnal. These are diurnal species, and they're from places where sometimes the sun is out 24/7. So they hunt a lot during the day. They were actually just in Chicago last year. One of my
Yeah.
coworkers went and got pictures of them at oh gosh, I forget the bird location. I'm not the biggest birder, but yeah, snowy owls, super cool. And then obviously, I Harry Potter growing up, I thought Hedwig was the man. So
Yeah.
that did have an impact. Fish, I'm gonna go the whale shark, and like we talked about,
Yeah.
whale shark. It is a shark, which is a fish. It is not a whale, which is a mammal. Um, Talking about my trip to Baja and having a fear of open water and being able to snorkel with whale sharks, that was a huge moment in my life for me. So being able to have that experience with such a beautiful, magnificent, slow-moving animal, and just overall the look of them too. Like they're non-dangerous. Like I said, they're slow-moving and they look like an animal that is a constellation. You know, they look like they have stars
Yeah.
all over their bodies. So just a really fascinating look of an animal. And
Definitely.
they are endangered. They migrate across the world, a lot of warm water oceans. So, but they are an endangered species, which I think is the only endangered, because the snowy owl is also vulnerable. Yeah, this is the only endangered animal on my list of 6, but whale
Okay.
shark for my fish. Amphibian, I'm gonna go back to Rainforest Cafe and red-eyed tree frog. So the
Yeah.
classic tree frog look, of
Yeah.
least concern, so not endangered. And they can be found in Mexico, Belize, Costa Rica, Northern Colombia.
Saw him in
Um,
Costa Rica.
yeah, did you? Oh, dude, I want to see them so
I've
bad.
I've good I've good pictures. Maybe I can share my picture and then you can put it up.
That would be awesome. I would love that.
Yep.
Yeah, I was a huge Rainforest Cafe kid. Growing up,
Yeah.
like we always used to go to Rainforest Cafe. I know it sounds silly, but it's the mascot for Rainforest Cafe.
Yeah.
And I've always loved frogs in general, whether it was catching bullfrogs in the backyard or we had poison dart frogs as pets for a long time. They have since passed away, unfortunately, but love the red-eyed tree frog. So I'm going to go with that for my amphibian. Reptile, people may not think of these as reptiles, but they are. Going green sea turtle. And
Mm.
they
Yeah.
were brought from vulnerable to least concern, which I was actually really surprised about. Green sea turtles are awesome. They, again, migrate across the ocean. They're more of a solitary species, but I
Yeah.
think the fact that they, most turtle species, how they lay their eggs, come back to that spot, go to that spot to lay, and then those animals just know to go out into the ocean and go find their way. So I've always loved sea turtles. Got to see them when we went to Mexico. So the green sea turtle. Yeah, you want to jump in?
Yeah, on the sea turtle note, actually over the past year, Nicolette, my girlfriend, and I went to South Florida and we did
Mm-hmm.
snorkeling in the ocean. And oh no, it wasn't that time. Sorry, it was earlier in the year when I went down to South Florida. We were fishing and we saw green sea turtles out in the ocean. That was really trippy. I didn't expect that. It's so weird, like you said. Like you think of them a lot of times as these endangered animals, and just to see one swimming along there, super weird, but it was amazing. So I did see one of those over the past year in the wild. So anyway, a little quick anecdote, but it was really cool.
Oh yeah, I mean they're magnificent. I saw sea turtles in Baja. We saw them snorkeling, and then like I said in Mexico, there was actually so many where we were snorkeling in Mexico, that and stingrays, that we would be snorkeling and be like trying to stay out of their way, and they would get so close and sometimes would bump into us. I was like, oh my gosh,
And they
which
eat
is a little
jellyfish,
freaky.
right?
What's that?
And they eat jellyfish.
They do eat jellyfish, which is why plastic pollution is a huge problem for them, because they often mistake like a plastic bag in the water, grocery bag or whatever bag, as a jellyfish. So yeah, they eat a ton of jellyfish.
They also eat, or maybe I'm mixing it up with another sea turtle, because green sea turtles also eat like sea vegetation too, I think.
Hmm.
I'm not
I
really
believe
sure.
that is correct.
Because there are multiple sea turtle species, and I'm not an expert on any of them, but
Yeah, you got the leatherback, the hawksbill, green.
yeah,
Yeah, you got a variety of sea turtles. So
yeah, I might be mixing them up.
so that is my reptile. That is my 5th one. And then my spirit animal, I'm gonna go with the gray wolf. So
Okay.
this was a conversation that we had at work. We've had multiple times now. Basically, just like, oh, people are kind of going over their spirit animal. I had the conversation in Tanzania, had the conversation in Baja. Just a fun one that always pops up. I've changed it over the years, but I finally think I've landed on gray wolf. I thought lion for a little bit, but they're a
Yeah.
little more like authoritative, I guess, considered than I would consider myself. But I like the gray wolf. They're very pack oriented. I'm very people oriented.
Yeah.
Kind of loud and noisy, and everything like that. But strong ties. They're also tied to like a lot of freedom kind of thoughts, like being able to travel anywhere, go across the world. They,
Yeah,
cover wide distances. So the gray wolf.
that's a good one. So to
So,
recap, can I
yep.
recap on you real quick?
Recap. Go for it.
Yeah, so mammal, you have African lion.
Mm-hmm.
Reptile, you just mentioned green sea turtles. Um, fish, whale shark. Amphibian, red-eyed tree frog. And bird, snowy owl. And lastly, spirit animal, gray wolf.
Yes, sir.
Correct?
That's it.
Okay.
And again, for people listening at home, feel free to put in the comments what are each of yours. What's your
Yeah,
wildlife team? We're calling it. So that's the first
definitely.
part of the adventure profile. You ready to jump into the second one?
Yeah, so let's move on to this next little segment. So this is going to be your expedition log.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea behind this is kind of the adventure part we're going to bring in. So we're going to be discussing, favorite trips, future trips, bucket list trips, all that stuff. So Jake, let's start you out with what is your favorite trip that you've been on so far and why?
I've got a couple different ones for different reasons, but the number one is definitely Tanzania. First off, the length of time I was there. I was there for 3.5 months, an entire school
Mm,
semester, study abroad. So not only was I able to go experience it briefly, but I feel like I became part of that community there. I really got to understand and witness the culture up close, which was my biggest takeaway leaving. Like, I went there for the animals and I fell in love with the people and the culture. Tanzania has my heart. I want to go back so bad. I want to bring my wife and my daughter and all that stuff. But yeah, and just the experiences that I've had. I mean, my favorite Disney movie is Lion King, and just being able to go to the Serengeti and see lions, see the biodiversity there, elephants, water buffalo, leopards, all that stuff. It was just incredible. And the amount
yeah,
of diversity I saw there too, just as far as like going on waterfall hikes, going to, again, like I said, the Serengeti, going into basically like jungle ecosystems where you're in after the wet season. It's just the way the vegetation just sprouts up instantly. And it was Lake Minyara National Park. When we were there in the dry season, it was pretty sparse and you could see the animals really well. By the end of our trip, it was the wet season. We went back and it looked like a completely different place. Just the way that everything was green and lush and full of vegetation, and the animals were a lot harder to find. So, but Tanzania definitely takes the cake for me. What about you? What's yours?
that's a really good one. I figured that was going to be yours.
Yeah, Baja is
Yeah,
up there too, but the fact that I was there for 3.5 months, it just, I have so many people that I still keep in contact with, whether they were classmates I went with or locals that I
for sure.
met there. And like I said, I'm itching to go back super bad. Obviously, it's super expensive, but one day.
Yeah. Yeah, and I totally get that because, oftentimes it's not just the place, it's like the connections and the experiences that you have, and that all comes together into like that adventure or trip.
Yeah,
So
big
I
time.
can totally relate to that. Mine, again, it was tough for me as well. I am gonna go with my trip to Costa Rica. I think it would have been 2 years ago now.
Yeah,
Um, that one, I was between that and Peru, like the Amazon and Peru. But I did go with Costa Rica, and we discussed this on one of our episodes
the
last
first
year.
episode.
Yeah. We talked about, a moment that you felt like this huge sense of adventure, connection to nature. That was it for me. It was the first time experiencing the rainforest in Costa Rica. And that's the main reason why I say Costa Rica is my favorite trip ever. Because, as a sort of wildlife fanatic, I dreamt of going to the rainforest for my whole life. And then finally doing that for the first time in Costa Rica was a surreal experience. And for that reason, that's my favorite trip I've been on so far. I could name other reasons, but, by far, that's the primary reason why. I'll never forget that.
Yeah, and this is a total callback to the first episode because we talked about that trip that got us into why we wanted to quote unquote chase wild, right? Why we wanted to
Yeah.
chase this feeling of adventure and seeing animals and being invested in conservation. And you referenced Costa Rica because of that, and I referenced
Yeah.
Tanzania because of what I just said. So, yeah,
Yep.
it just goes to show how impactful those experiences can be and why we're trying to build a community here and eventually get to the point where we're going on these trips with people who listen to the show, with people who are in our life, just living a life full of adventure. So love it.
Absolutely. Yep. So let's move on to the second part of this expedition log. This is going to be, we're going to pick 2 bucket list destinations. And again, we encourage people to think about this while you're listening, drop a comment, however else we decide to reach out to people on this. Jake, I want to turn it to you. Can you list 2 of your bucket list destinations or expeditions, why you want to do those, and then also what you hope to see or get out of those bucket list places?
So it's hard to narrow down because I have a ton and they've changed over the years just because I just keep adding them to my list. But the number 1, I'm going to go with the Congo. I've wanted to go to Congo River, go to the rainforest there.
Yeah.
It's not the safest place to travel to right now. There's a lot of unrest, so it's kind of not a country to go to at the moment. You can, but at your own risk. But the Republic of Congo, going to the Congo and just being able to go on the river there and see all the different animals. I mean, you've got the big 5, you've got okapi, you've got bongo, you got lions, elephants, you've got literally chimps, gorillas, bonobos. It is the second largest rainforest in the world to the Amazon rainforest, which you and I both have been fortunate enough to go to. And it's just basically got instead of the South American flavor of biodiversity, you've got the African flavor of biodiversity. So I've always really wanted to go there. That's definitely high up on my list. And that's actually one that's been at the very top for my whole life, or as long as I can remember.
That's a really good one. I like that. I don't know if you've seen Anthony Bourdain, like Parts Unknown, that show.
I've seen him. I haven't seen that. Did he go there?
He did. That was also one of his bucket list places, and I remember watching that episode and being blown away. I didn't even think of that one. That's an excellent one. All right.
If you want to think of the Congo, like if you want to get a picture of it, think Tarzan. Yeah. Like that is just what screams to me when you think about it. You can go see leopards, gorillas, elephants, hippos, all of it. They're all there. And it's just breathtaking waterfalls. And you've got the Congo River, a lot of other different rivers running through off of it. So yeah, it's gorgeous. One day we'll get there.
Yeah, the Congo River is like particularly famous. Like lots of people have written about it, have written like logs and stuff while traveling down it. So it's a really, really big deal for some people. I really like that one. So we have your first bucket list destination. What's the other one?
Number 2 is a more recent find. It is called Great Bear Rainforest in British Columbia. So it's right there on the coast. West Coast, and it is basically this kind of walking into like a book, almost walking into a story. It's just this lush, mossy rainforest that has the famous spirit bear, which is a subspecies of black bear, but there are those blonde white bears that I actually read a book called Spirit Bear growing up, and I was always super interested in the white bears. And they're not polar bears. They're a subspecies of black bear. But you've got another subspecies of wolves that basically have learned to cross over the ocean to go to different islands. You've got humpback whales, orcas, seals, sea lions, sea otters. You've got all that Pacific Ocean animals there. So you've got marine life. You've got rainforest. Like I said, wolves, bears, grizzlies, elk, moose, all that stuff. So that is at the top of my list. I'll try to throw a picture in there as well. It doesn't even look real. Great Bear Rainforest, British Columbia.
Good one.
Have you ever heard of it?
No, I actually haven't. That's what I was going to say. That's new to me. So that's really cool that you actually named something that's an original one. I like that one.
The other, I have a couple places in Madagascar I really want to go to too, but I wanted to try to find a different continent because obviously Madagascar is not on the continent of Africa, but part of Africa. So,
right. That's good.
All right, let's go to yours. You said your favorite trip was Costa Rica. Let's get into your 2 bucket list destinations.
Okay, so I'm going to preface this by previewing a trip that I have planned. And I'm not going to count as a bucket list. I'm going to make my own rules because it's already a trip that's kind of in motion.
Okay. And it's your podcast. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, right. So it's February right now. In the end of April into May, my mom, brother, and myself are planning on going to Australia. It's a bucket list trip for sure. Yeah. And it's a trip we've been trying to get together for 2 years for work reasons and whatnot, we haven't been able to pull together, but we finally have our window of opportunity. It's going to be about 2 weeks. Australia for me is huge for, reptiles. It's one of the hot spots of reptile diversity. All sorts of cool wildlife, obviously. You could go on about koalas, kangaroos, and whatnot. But I'm hoping to definitely see saltwater crocodiles in the wild. That's a dream of mine.
There you
a
go.
bucket list species to see there. Excuse me. All sorts of different reptiles. That's a hotspot of python diversity, really cool snakes. Some of the most venomous and deadly snakes in the world are found in Australia as well. You've got your inland taipans, all sorts of really, really cool
Big
reptiles.
snakes and big bugs, right?
Yeah. Yep. Big spiders as well.
Big spiders, big arachnids.
Pretty crazy spiders down there too. So anyway, that's my little preview.
I have
of that
3
trip.
important questions for you for going to
Sure.
Australia. 1, are you going to the Great Barrier Reef?
Don't know yet, but
Okay.
it's definitely on the list. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess
yet,
it's
though.
3 places. Great Barrier Reef, are you going to the Outback, and are you going to the Steve Irwin Zoo?
Outback, not this time. I have
Okay.
some other places in mind, and one of those places is Australia Zoo. So we're definitely going to make that a priority.
Let's go. You can't not.
Yeah.
You can't go to Australia and
No.
not go to the Australia Zoo.
Yeah, Australia Zoo is a shoo-in. So it's in Brisbane, which is like one of the closest destinations to Sydney where we'll fly in and out of. So we're definitely doing Brisbane where the zoo is. And then depending on how much time we have, we want to hit like Queensland, like Cairns area, which is where Great Barrier Reef is, and or Darwin in the Northern Territory, which would be a great spot for saltwater crocs. So
Nice.
yeah, we'll have to see what our itinerary and our timeline looks like, but those are some of the spots we have in mind. So
I'm going to give you my GoPro, and you're going to just
Definitely.
strap it to your chest, and when you're at the Australia Zoo, you're just going to push record, and you're going to give me the 3 to 4 hours of footage, and I'm just going to watch it and live through it. I want to go so bad. But that's another bucket list for me. I mean, that's high up there. It's such an awesome place and such a unique spot in the world, down under.
Yeah, and we're making it tough on ourselves to narrow it down to 2 because Jake and I'm sure we could put together a whole page of bucket list places. So we're trying to be respectful of people's time and keep this to 2, keep it
we
concise.
can go to 10. All right, so what is number 2? Number 2 for you?
Well, that was my preview. Remember, I'm making my own rules here.
That's right.
So
Jeez.
I have my 2
Okay.
other, unplanned bucket list. So one, this is gonna kind of tie in near Congo, would be like a mountain gorilla trek, Rwanda, Uganda, DRC. That's bucket list for sure.
Yeah.
I like, you've done safari, and I definitely want to do safari someday as well. That's a bucket list thing. But I think what's so cool about a trek, doesn't matter where you are in Africa, South America, North America, is that it's really immersive. I've done treks in Central South America, and I really appreciated that, you got boots on the ground, you're walking through, getting really intimate encounters with the animals. And that's one of the big reasons why the gorilla trek is up there for me. Seeing the forest there would be incredible as well. Like Africa's some of the most underrated, beautiful rainforests. They're absolutely massive.
Truly.
Trees, really cool foliage. So my first one is Rwanda, Uganda, whatnot, obviously to see mountain gorillas. So that's my first one. And then my second one, I don't know if I could choose like a particular country, but it would be, again, like the rainforests in Southeast Asia. I'm thinking probably like Vietnam.
Yeah.
For a few reasons, I'd want to see, it's a place to see animals, some of my favorite animals, such as like gibbons in the wild.
I was gonna say gibbons.
Yep, really cool reptiles there as well, similar to Australia. Awesome tree vipers and such. And yeah, Southeast Asia has beautiful rainforests. So from an aesthetic perspective, that would be awesome. So it would be, like I said, a gorilla trek in Africa, and then forests of Southeast Asia.
Nice. Those are awesome. I mean, my coworker, I'll tell you who afterwards, but he's going on his honeymoon. They're going to I think Kenya and then Uganda, and they're doing gorilla trek. They're going all out, like a long
That's awesome.
honeymoon. It's crazy, but yeah, going to do the gorilla trekking is something I definitely want to do. And then
For
yeah,
sure.
there's a lot of amazing rainforests in Southeast Asia, so
Yeah.
very cool. And yeah, just like you know, you're going to Australia, kind of previewing one of yours. So I'm going to Seattle. That is one of our trips this year. We're going to Olympic National Park, and it's got a similar vibe because it's got a rainforest, temperate rainforest, in the
Yeah.
U.S. Place that you can go see that, which is really cool. And you've got that coastal ecosystem right there, so there's an opportunity to see humpbacks, orcas, you know, that marine life on the coast. Um, and the other thing that I didn't say about Great Bear Rainforest, I didn't describe it as well, but it's basically this ancient forest with these like thousands-year old trees, massive trees that have been there forever, untouched, very untouched land. So that's another reason. It's just gorgeous. But yeah, going to Seattle this year, which will be a little bit of a taste of that. Olympic National Park. We're going to do an Airbnb with our friends as well as Addie. This will be her first big adventure trip. And then
Nice.
I'm co-leading a trip to Baja at the end of this year. I think I said that in the beginning, but
Hmm.
excited to do that. Going back to Baja, California, Vermilion Sea Institute. Be the first time I'm co-leading a trip, like a paid experience that people get to go on. So,
Definitely.
really excited for that as well. But we could talk adventure trips all day long. I mean, that's why
Yeah.
we started the podcast. But
Yeah.
all right, so what is next? What's next on the adventure profile?
All right. So next we'll move on to conservation impact. So, what's something that you'd like to do to contribute to conservation? Something that you'd like to participate in to make a difference?
I've always been really big into human wildlife conflict, especially since going to Tanzania. We had the unique opportunity to meet with poachers, people who weren't ivory poachers. That's a whole different game, but people who were like bushmeat poachers. So they would maybe kill zebras or gazelle or things like that would kind of go through where they live for their family. They're killing the animals as food for their family. I do not condone any kind of poaching or anything like that, but having the unique opportunity to meet with poachers, you got to see the humanity behind it. Like, these are people who
Mhm.
maybe don't have as many opportunities to get food. They aren't farmers, and just hearing their experiences, there's a better way that hopefully people can find creative solutions so that people can have access to food and that wildlife doesn't become competition, whether it's farmers who are killing elephants or lions or leopards in retaliation for killing their livestock. There's ways to build fencing around their livestock so that the animals can't get to it, things of that nature. But I've had the opportunity to work alongside Soralo, which is a conservation organization in Africa. We got to do that during Dragonfly, via Zoom, so it was online. But hearing how they get to work with the local indigenous communities and, again, work with them, because a lot of the people that live where they are, it's an unprotected wildlife corridor where there's lions, and they're in competition with lions for food and safety and all that. So they were killing a lot of lions. But yeah, human wildlife conflict and just reducing that conflict between people. So that is my big one. How about you?
That's great. Mine would be ecotourism. For
Yeah.
me, it's kind of like a passion activity contribution. Obviously, it blends together like travel and wildlife and conservation. And it can actually work in two different ways for myself. One, that could be what I've already done, which is going to places, going to endangered areas, and participating as the customer, as the client in ecotourism. So you go to a place, you're working through oftentimes an ecotourism company, which is often partnered with conservation projects or groups in the area. You're obviously giving your money towards them to provide a tour or an experience
Mm-hmm.
for yourself. And obviously that benefits not only the consumer, the client, which myself, like a wildlife enthusiast, but also the other side, which those dollars go towards direct conservation in the area. So that's the one end of it. The other end is like Jake, he talked about how he's going to help co-lead in Baja this coming summer.
Mm-hmm.
That's another the other end that I would like to also participate in one day, which is actually providing these experiences for people. It's something Jake and I talk about all the time when we talk
Yep.
about Chasing Wild and Dreamers Initiative. And that's the other end of the spectrum, which is I'd also like to provide these experiences for people and go on these trips as sort of the leader in these in these trips. So for me, it would be ecotourism.
Love it. Yeah, and that is a huge goal here to get people going on these trips, because I think the quickest way to change someone's heart that leads to real impact is to get them to see these things firsthand, whether it's to experience the culture, to experience the wildlife and the things that are happening to the animals in that area, whatever it is. But when you go somewhere, you get that firsthand experience, it really changes you versus reading about it or, hearing about it from other people, or maybe being scolded like, why are you still using plastic straws? But if you go to somewhere and you see a turtle that's washed up on the beach with plastic rings around its neck, it hits different. So ecotourism is huge. That's cool.
Yeah.
All right. So that is the conservation impacts. I believe we have two more segments? One more segment?
Yeah, and these ones will be pretty quick and straightforward. So
Yep.
the second to last one is ecosystem backdrop. So I kind of think this as, what would the wallpaper on your laptop or computer be? Like, what do you imagine as your backdrop or wallpaper as far as an ecosystem?
Yeah, or if you even had like Facebook, it'd be like the banner photo,
Yeah.
the photo that is behind your picture. For me, it's the Serengeti sunset. I have a picture of it when we were first driving into our camp in the Serengeti. Just this incredible, I'll put it up on the screen, but this incredible orange, yellow, sun is setting. You've got the acacia trees in the background and just everything that comes out at night. You've got all the predators coming out. So definitely Serengeti sunset for me.
That's a good one.
What about
That
you?
doesn't surprise me.
No, I know. Tanzania heavy here, but you know what? That was the trip that changed it all. So
nothing wrong with that. That's a great one. For me, it would be just the backdrop of some sort of like really big old growth rainforest. So really high trees, thick foliage, big vines hanging down. So for example, maybe like a big rainforest in Southeast Asia, they usually have really tall soaring canopies. I love a lot of tropical wildlife. Rainforest for me is kind of synonymous with like adventure and wildlife and all these different things. So for me, my ecosystem backdrop would be a rainforest. So Jake, we've got you as the Serengeti, and for me, we have the rainforest. And our last category on this adventure profile is we're going to go to our adventure song. So it's going to be like a song or a theme that represents your idea or feeling of adventure. So Jake, I'll hand it off to you.
Old enough to have had MySpace, this would have been the song that was playing on your profile. And basically, it just, all of this is representing your adventure side. It's personal to you. So for me, my song that we play when people pop in is Under the Stars, Hans Zimmer from Lion King. It really connects to my spirit when I hear that song. Love Lion King. It reminds me of the Serengeti, all those things. So Under the Stars by Hans Zimmer and Lebo M, who is the guy who sings like that. Na Sahenya. I saw Hans Zimmer and Lebo live in concert twice. They're good friends. And I got to see that song twice, and it was quite incredible.
Hans Zimmer is one of the best. He has like some of my favorite themes in all.
Cornfield Chase is up there for me too. And then the Jurassic Park theme, which is John Williams, who I've also seen. But next time Hans Zimmer comes to the U.S., because he tours every couple of years, I'll text you. We'll go. Maddie and I have gone twice, and that sounds amazing.
Good. Yeah, Interstellar, Inception. You go on and on.
Tenet.
All right.
Yep.
So you've got.
Actually, not Tenet. I lied. That's Ludwig. Go ahead.
You've got the stars in Lion King. Mine would be. It's not like a particular song, but it would be like the Avatar theme. Any theme in Avatar. It's really hard to like describe the feeling, but for me, that kind of like represents the like magic of the
I was gonna say
natural world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Kind of like the eeriness, the otherworldliness of the theme.
Otherworldliness, so like, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, for me, like that theme goes hand in hand with something like a rainforest. There are forests in Avatar, these big crazy forests. So that kind of invokes that feeling of like, this is a totally different world than what I'm used to. And yeah, so mine would be the Avatar theme.
Like the, that. Yeah. That I love that score. I have a whole playlist for like scores that kind of inspire me, and yeah, there's a lot of Avatar, a lot of Hans Zimmer, John Williams. So that wraps up our adventure profile. I thought that was a lot of fun, and again, people doing it in their own time. Feel free to shoot in the comments or wherever. Just kind of share maybe some of the things that represent your adventure side of you. So I know, like I said, I've done this with people, and it's always fun, and you get kind of a glimpse into, not just the spirit animal, because obviously that's more personal, but like, what's people's flavor? I didn't know a lot of the animals that you would have chose. I knew the saltwater croc, I thought at
Yeah,
least, but and the gibbon, but some of the other ones were a surprise. So,
for
but
sure.
going off the song, I just want to tease a quick segment that we're going to be doing here in the future. And basically, it's called Music to Moments. So, this is something that has been something that I've just done personally in my own life, putting a song to an experience or a specific moment. And for a lot of the adventures that I've gone on, I have found that, like, when I went to the Tetons, I had a song for when we got up to Delta Lake, and it was just like the perfect moment, the perfect song for that moment. We were going down a safari, like a dirt road in Tanzania, and it was just kicking up dust, and I was playing the Raiders of the Lost Ark, the dun 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 dun, and it was like,
Nice.
it's just that moment.
Yeah.
So whatever maybe we'll do like a mock trip, or we'll reminisce on an experience that we've been on, but I think Music to Moments is a segment that we'll do that kind of people can share their own as well. And maybe we'll even give suggestions for, like, hey, you're going here. This kind of song was meant for this or whatever. But
Yeah.
that is Music to Moments. And then, do you have anything to jump in there?
No, that sounds great. This is Jake's idea, so I love it. It's a really original idea, and I hope people have a lot of fun with it.
For example, one more that I'll give you is, and I do not recommend this for anyone at home, but my wife's family lives on a farmhouse, so, out in the country. And when we were younger, again, I do not recommend anyone to do this at home, but she has a Highlander with a sunroof, and we blasted Cornfield Chase at nighttime. It was like super starry night, blasted Cornfield Chase. And I went up on the roof, and I'm holding on by the sunroof, and she's going like 35, 40 miles an hour down this dark country road. It was amazing. And then we both did it. And I think my buddy Chris was there. He did it. But that was like a music to moment example. It's like, okay, you
Yeah.
know what we should do? So
Yeah.
do not do that at home. It was very unsafe. I'm a father now. Probably wouldn't do that. At least wouldn't tell that I'm doing it. But
Yeah.
and then the last segment, so I teased this, I think, on our Instagram page, but we're going to be starting fresh in 2026, and this is called Wild Trek. So to me, this is kind of one of the big reasons that I've wanted to do a podcast, that I've wanted to kind of get into nature in general. And I love finding wild animals, and I love finding new animals. Like every time I find a new species, it's kind of like a check, like I found something. And I remember a couple years ago, I was having a conversation with one of my coworkers I have a couple of coworkers who are huge birders, and the birding community tends to keep a life list, right? Like all the species you've ever found. And I was like, well, why do we just have to have it for birds? So going back to our conversation of classes, vertebrates, Wild Trek is basically going to be for me and Dean at first, but whoever wants to play, it's super simple. You're just basically keeping a life list of all of the vertebrate species, mammal, amphibian, reptile, bird, fish that you see in the wild. I would consider, if you've ever played Pokemon, if you see an animal, you can say you've discovered it. But if you actually get a photograph of that animal, you can add it to your Trek decks, something that you kind of keep with you. And then by the end of our lives, we'll be able to look back and be like, I have a photograph and I've seen X amount of species. So I think
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun, and I think it's an opportunity to really make it a game, to make challenges around it. And we're looking to do trips here in the future and leading expeditions. I think you could easily add, like, these animals are available to find, and people could be adding them to their Trek decks. So that's going to be Wild Trek, and starting fresh in 2026. I've yet to get out with the camera and do anything, but really excited to start adding animals to my list.
Yeah. I like that idea for a few reasons, but like one, I remember we had a conversation last year as we talked about how can not only ourselves but other people, how can we encourage ourselves to get out there and connect with nature? And I think that's part of the inspiration behind this idea. And I just think it'll be a great way to encourage people to get out there. Doesn't even mean you have to go on a trip. It could be walking around your local forest preserve or prairie, wherever you might
Any
live.
backyard.
Yeah. And just even if it's you see a new bird species for the first time, awesome. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. It doesn't have to be tons of new animals. It's just getting out there, making some fun of it, looking for different animals. And I love it. I think it's a great way to get people outside
Mm-hmm.
and encourage me to get outside and get out of my house. So I love it.
Well, and just like you're saying, it seems less and less like a priority when life gets busy because there's no like quote unquote purpose
Yeah.
behind it.
Yeah.
And that sounds wrong. I love just going out in nature and looking at the trees and seeing a bird or, whatever it is. But when life gets busy, sometimes you're like, well, I don't have time for that. So this is kind of trying to gamify it to make it something that's like, hey, I'm going out here with a purpose. I'm trying to add to my, Trek decks. I'm trying to play Wild Trek, trying to have this experience. And, for me, having a daughter, I really think that this could be something that she grows up with and gets to add for her entire life. I'll be 30 here in March, which is wild. So I'm kind of starting at 30, but she'll get to start at whatever age. She's almost 2. And yeah, I just think it's a fun way to, like you said, have a reason to get outdoors and, go catch a new fish or go out with binoculars and find a new bird species or go on these trips because you're going to see a lot of different new animals. So, but yeah, that's it for the first episode back.
Yeah.
It's
That's
episode
it.
12, adventure profile, a little
Yeah.
bit of nature news, some Risotope project, Wild Trek. So it's good to be back in the new studio for me, in the new office. Good to be back talking to you on the pod.
Likewise. Good to be back in the saddle. And I think we have some really good ideas moving forward. So this is a good start. Good start to the new year.
Great start to the new year. We're going to be playing around with a lot of different segments. We've introduced a couple of them here now. Please do provide feedback, what you're enjoying, what you think is fun. We really want to make this podcast a community. I have a lot of different sports podcasts that I listen to, and I've gotten to the point where I'm going to events for this podcast, and it's become a community that I feel invested in. And, that's what we're trying to do here. I don't find very many adventure podcasts that are like community oriented where people can get involved and keep in touch and be interactive. So this whole thing is meant to just build a community and have fun with it, meet people, go do some fun stuff, see some animals, and have lots of cool wildlife conversations. So good to be back. We'll be doing another episode here soon. Hopefully get this episode out very quickly. Good turnaround. But thanks everyone for tuning into the podcast. We'll see you next time on the Chasing Wild podcast. Dean, have a great night.
You too, buddy. Thanks.